CEOs do crazy things sometimes. I just completed a 74-hour dry fast. That means no liquids, no consumables of any kind. And if you're an Amazon business owner, this is a video you're going to want to watch if you're focused on health this year. And that's because many times as a business owner, the business consumes you like a parasite, right? Like it just takes every ounce of energy out of you, and you're wondering, how can I go on with my health eroding? And that's exactly where I found myself. For the past 3 years, I've been at 221 pounds to 223, kind of vacillating between that. And I tried everything to start losing weight. I went on 3-mile, 5-mile walks daily. Nothing was working for me. And so what I had to do and what I realized I had to do was something extreme. I needed a full-on reset. And that reset was a 74-hour dry fast. Now, I could have probably gone another day extra, but when I talked to you about what I experienced on day 3, it was brutal, very, very difficult. So the protocol that I followed is called the Phoenix Protocol. I'm not trying to push a product. But you can pick up a book if you're curious about that. And it's super weird. I mean, like the whole thing is just weird, right? Like you hear a lot of things about intermittent fasting, water fasting, but this concept of dry fasting gets a lot of resistance. Like when I was posting on social media, people were telling me like, oh, you're going to die. Like you're going 3 days without water. Well, what happens is your body goes into what's called ketosis. And I'm not a doctor, don't take any medical advice from me here. But basically, what I found out is that during this fast, my body did a full-on reset. So today, I'm 2 days following the completion of my fast. I ended my fast on Sunday, and today's Tuesday. I'm actually continuing to lose weight, and I couldn't be more happier. So today I weighed in at 211. So that's a 10-pound loss in 7 days. Now, obviously, super fast weight loss is not a great concept. There's a lot of disadvantages to that. But I'll be honest, once I stopped my fast, I fully expected to regain some water weight. I'm super hydrated, everything checked out. But I'm going to walk you through how I went about this and kind of take you from beginning to end on this. And if you're an Amazon seller, business owner that wants to regain your health, I do recommend trying a dry fast. It can be faster and more effective than a water fast. Obviously, significantly more difficult, but worthwhile. And so today when I'm experiencing my results, my stomach is smaller. I just feel like a completely reborn man. So religion, in my opinion, is on a hill, and science is still climbing to get there. Recent medical studies have proven the power of fasting is like resetting your body. And I believe that I'm way behind on this, and that cultures around the world have significant experience of the benefits. Shout out to my friends over in Pakistan. They do Ramadan, and they do a lot of intermittent fasting over there, and some things even more than that. But I think America is kind of coming around to this concept, and it might be a few more years before you even hear dry fasting in the mainstream. But it's a thing. It really is. So I like to make it like a joke, like your computer, right? So if you ever call up IT support and you're like, hey, I got a problem with my computer, what's the first thing they say to you? Have you tried turning it off and on again? Right? Like that is like the synopsis of what I did with a dry fast. I'm turning off the body, I'm turning it back on. And rest assured, during this whole process, I was monitoring my health. I had my blood pressure checked every day. The interesting thing is that the Phoenix Protocol says that you should expect blood pressure to change, and mine basically didn't. Like we're talking like a 1% change. So I was really surprised by that. But I was getting it checked. While it's not comfortable to do this fast, I felt completely safe during it. When I finally entered that first acidic, and I probably butchered the name of that, crisis. It was absolutely brutal. But before that, I had to abstain from water, food, and mind you, I've got 4 kids, 6 and under, and they're eating, right? Like they brought Chick-fil-A home one night, and like that just wafted through the house. And my son, so I haven't been doing a lot of fatherly duties during the fast. It's obviously very difficult to do that while on a fast. My son got hungry and decided to make himself some toast, and then he burned it, and then there was smoke billowing through the house. And we caught that very quick. There wasn't any damage or any problems. And this is like a normal thing every parent goes through. Like anybody that's a parent understands this, right? But then my senses, my nose, like when you go on a dry fast, your sense of smell drastically increases, right? Like your body's like on high alert, like where's food? And so like you can smell better because your body's like in survival mode. What's really interesting is that my left sinus, which I've had nose surgery several times, it has never felt more open, right? Like I can breathe through it almost about, I want to say about an 80% improvement. I just gone to the ENT a couple weeks ago and was complaining to them how I hadn't had additional gains from the surgeries and everything that I've tried to do. Nothing cosmetic, straight up utility play on trying to do some of those surgeries. I just really wanted to breathe better. Like I'm in the form of communication, and sometimes when I go on that hour-long podcast live Q&A, it is brutal. I feel like I'm choking on phlegm as it doesn't, it like stores and it doesn't like go through the system. Well, I got to tell you, post-fast, and quite frankly, one of the protocols for sinusitis in what I have was to dry yourself out. But I'm super hydrated post-fast, and I'm so open with my airways right now, and I'm like praying, like, man, I hope this is permanent. Like I really do, because I'm so thrilled by that. So I've been playing pickup basketball games, best exercise my body had seen in 3 years, but my body had never been so beat up, and I was like, I can't continue playing basketball like this. I feel like my shoulder was getting beat up. I was getting elbows in the left eye. Just full 9 yards. My left knee felt like it was giving out. So I was like, okay, basketball needs to take a break. I'm going to try something different, right? And I've tried every sort of thing, but fasting was so dramatic on my health, just so dramatic. And, the stomach gurgles, absolutely, they were intense, had to deal with all that. But when the body goes through this extended dry fast without water, my understanding is it wakes up some dormant cells, and the body has to go into shock mode, refocusing, recycling bad cells out of necessity. And some of you are going to think this is crazy, but I kind of wanted to repair my DNA, right? Like I wanted to slough off the dead weight, and I believe my strong cells will reproduce and just kind of overtake those sections that hadn't had that reset in some time. So most of the major gains that I seek probably won't be achievable on the first test fast, like that 3 days, but I did expect some positive movement. I had a very positive experience with this, probably going to do it again. Ideally, I would have conducted this fast away from work, away from the internet, maybe reconnect with nature. But to be honest, I didn't plan it. I simply said, I read this book. What the heck? I'll just skip dinner. Then the next day I woke up. I was like, you know what? I could go longer. Let's do it. And I went through the whole day. And I was like, well, I'm a day and a half in. Might as well do 3 days. Let's go, right? Like that was just kind of my attitude. Kind of felt like the little caterpillar who after eating, and I'm talking about the children's book, after he ate all of those terrible things on Saturday, he rested on Sunday and reset, and he went back to a single green leaf on the Sunday, right? Like, and then he became a cocoon and into a butterfly, right? So, obviously my kids think this is super weird that I'm not eating with them. My wife has expressed nothing but love, and my leadership team at work constantly making jokes and talking about how I'm going to go eat a Chipotle burrito, which I haven't done yet, waiting for me to break it. And I'll be honest, I was a little irritable. I tried to hide it. I only took it out on like my closest friends, but it was good. So when I was 53 hours fasting in, I kind of wrote down some notes, and I was talking, I came to the realization that food was good. And I was like, before that, I was like, I'm not, food's okay. But 53 hours in, I was like, oh my gosh, I really want some food right now, right? And it wasn't water cravings, it was food cravings. The hunger pains are not bad, but the brain constantly thinking of consumable objects in my house was a minute by minute battle. And so part of what I did to compensate for that was to do what's called grounding. And this is going to sound super weird. I thought it was kind of kooky, but essentially what grounding is you go outside, and especially in the morning and the evenings when it's misty, and you listen to the crickets, you listen to the birds, and you try to get in touch with nature. Now, obviously anybody thinks that's a good idea, but here's the weirdest part. You're supposed to be barefoot, and especially like walking on wet grass. That's like a super ideal thing. I did this for hours during my fasting. Super effective. I could not recommend that more. Maybe even not while fasting, it's a good idea. I felt super grounded. It helped me keep going. It helped me overcome my fears. And I was alone when I did it. Sometimes towards the end of my fast, I couldn't sleep at all. And so I would just every couple hours I'd go outside and just try and reset with nature, and I'd try and crawl back in bed. One of the most interesting things about the dry fast concept is you need to take 2 baths or showers a day, especially in the morning and the evening. And this is going to sound weird, but what happens is that your body reverses the water. So instead of, how you sweat and water's coming out of you and you're expelling toxins and everything else. Well, when you're dehydrated, because obviously I was dehydrated on a 3-day fast, but when you're dehydrated and you take a bath, your body actually absorbs water through the skin. None of this made sense to me, but I experienced it. And so what I'm doing with this video is just trying to explain my experience, right? Not advocating for anybody to go try and replicate it. And you might have a different experience if you try this. And obviously everybody's health decisions are very personal. But I was just astonished, right? I went from mildly yellow urine, and I would take a bath, and my urine went back white. And I hadn't consumed any water, and I was baffled. I was like, whoa. That was the weirdest scientific development experimentation that I've ever done on my body. And it continued to be like this. I would, midday, I would urinate, and it would be slightly yellow. In the evening, I'd take a shower or a bath. It would go back to white. And so it just continued to replicate. And so if you're wondering why the body can survive without drinking, I believe that's the why. I believe that's the answer. It's your body absorbs the water, and that's why walking out in the misty rain, super helpful. So I started at 223 pounds on Thursday. 53 hours into my fast, I was at 215.4. And I fully expected a bunch of water weight to come back. It didn't. 70 hours into my fasting, I was just ready to call it quits. I only made it another 4 hours after I've been jotting down my notes the whole time. I was at 70 hours, and I was so achy. I needed electrolytes. My muscles were on fire. My whole body was burning, right? And I had to basically bathe in ice packs. This is the hardest part of an extended fast, is right around day 3, you go through that crisis where your body's just feed me, we're dying. But it's so necessary to go through. And it's because the longer you can push through that, the more likely you're going to wake up dormant cells in your body. And so I was just really wanting to gain the full benefits of this fast. And so hour 74 rolled around. I realized that my first acidiotic crisis was not even nearly close to being over. And I was like, okay, I got to go back to work on Monday. I got to do a podcast. Maybe it's time to end it. And so I turned to the scriptures. I actually, I'm an elders quorum instructor in my church, basically Sunday school for men. And I gave a talk about spiritual consciousness. And I also read some scriptures about fasting. This is a very old biblical thing. Fasting has always been a practice among God's people. The doctrine of fasting is super ancient. And that's kind of why I said earlier, I feel like religion is at the top of the hill and science is just like starting to catch up. And so like you could just, I'll just spout them out like Moses, David, Ezra, Nehemiah, I don't know how to say that one, Esther, Isaiah, Daniel, Joel, many others fasted and preached of fasting. Like sometime, even Jesus had a moment where his apostles tried to heal somebody and they couldn't. And they went to Jesus and he said, well, this particular ailment requires prayer and fasting to cure it, right? Esther's story, super interesting. She a Jewess that found favor with the Persian king, became his wife. In the same country was a powerful man named Haman, who was a bitter enemy of Mordecai, Esther's cousin. And because Mordecai refused to bow down before him, Haman made a plan to kill all of the Jews. And when Mordecai heard this tragic news, he sent word to Esther, asking her to go before the king and seek his protection. Well, Esther explained the law, saying, whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king in the inner court, who is not called, there is one law, to put him to death, except to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I've not been called to come into the king these 30 days. That's in Esther 4:11. Mordecai replied that if Esther did not act, everyone would be killed, including her own family. So Esther realized her responsibility. She answered, go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days. Exactly what I just did, night or day. And I also and my maidens will fast likewise. We'll go unto the king, which is not according to the law, and if I perish, I perish. And Esther, despite danger to her own life, went fasting before the king. The king held out a scepter, good story ending, so she might approach, sparing her life. And because she had put her life and this problem into the hands of the Lord, she was spared. The king proclaimed that the Jews could defend themselves and survive. So there's just so many different stories about fasting. And so like in my life, I would fast 2 meals once a month casually. And then I'd eat a big feast. Like I'm a giant hypocrite. And so like the whole point of fasting, and this is why when I exited my fast, and by the way, today I weighed in at 211 this morning. So I'm down 10 pounds in 7 days, more than that actually. And it's a remarkable thing. I feel fantastic. And I honestly think tomorrow I'm going to weigh in and continue losing the weight. I ate peas for dinner last night, little high in carbohydrates. I need to get more keto focus. But I'm trying to figure that out. I'm on a journey here. When I broke my fast, I was supposed to stay to a liquid diet. I ended up eating some steak, but I felt great after eating steak. It was good for me. It worked for me. And so I'm just trying to do my best. I'm just trying to do my personal best. And so, if you made it this far in the video, my encouragement to you is if you're stuck on your health journey, do something dramatic, do something big, and reset yourself. Because now, exiting my fast, I don't have the same cravings. Some foods that you might call dull have flavor again, and I'm avoiding sugar like the plague. And I hope this makes me a better CEO. I hope this makes me a better family man, a father of 4 kids, and I think it will. It's definitely 50% physical, 50% spiritual. I would do it again for either one of those two if it was only one or the other, and I'm reaping those benefits. So I guess you could say that's my testimony on fasting, and I hope you guys found it insightful, and maybe you'll replicate it in your own way and choose to take parts that made sense to you and reject the rest. No big deal. Let me know in the comments. Tell me how you feel about this, what other books you recommend, things I can check out. And thanks for watching. My name is Stephen Pope, and I'm the founder of My Amazon Guy.